guys, it's Sophie. Sorry for the odd positioning. I just tried to film back on the sofa and the lighting was so bad that I looked like I was dying. So I am pretty pale and I am like no makeup, but that's pretty normal. So I don't know why it was quite as terrible as it was. But basically, I wanted to show you the books that I got for Christmas. There's a tower here that you might be able to see just in shot. And I just wanted to show what I got and talk a little bit about them. I don't normally do hauls, but I do think Christmas hauls are quite nice. And yeah, I normally ask for an awful lot of books, and I have got an awful lot of books this year, which is always really exciting. I reckon, how many books do I actually have? Two sets. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18 books. Given that I only read, I'm probably going to read 70 books, I think, by the end of the year. That's a fair chunk of my books for 2021 sorted. Before we go in, what I will say is a lot of these are ones I've picked up because I missed them in 2020. So it was a really tough year. Work was really tough in terms of busyness, and the pandemic was hard in terms of concentration. So a lot of these are books I felt like I'd missed out on this year or had kind of passed me by, and I wanted not to have missed out. So yeah, I will get started. We're gonna go hop down. Actually, there's one on the floor I'm going to show you first, just because it's big, and then I can put it somewhere else. So you guys might know that I've become slightly obsessed with national parks this year, and I got the biggest book, Atlas of the National Parks, which is literally an atlas. Foster, be careful, it's very heavy. So it has like full spread, has like full spread pictures in it and lots of information about the parks. It is genuinely enormous and really heavy, and I've been paging my way through this one. This is kind of the first one I'm getting on my way to. It will be like a coffee table book. I also like to read my coffee table books before they go and stay here permanently. So that is the one I'm kind of, there we are. That's the one I'm kind of starting off with. Yeah, so let's get started. The first one I have is Diary of a Bookseller by Sean Binthal, which was from Tom's parents, and I think this is going to be really comforting. I don't know about you guys, but I normally go into bookshops quite a lot. It's something I do whenever I go somewhere new, and it's something I find quite comforting. In 2020, I've been in one bookshop, the whole of the year, one time. Very, very, very sad. So I think this one is going to be really comforting and might like brighten my spirits up a little bit, just remembering and thinking about what it's like when you can go to bookshops. And it's definitely something I'm excited to do once things open. There's a place that's quite local to us that has like 4 or 5 indie bookshops, probably like half an hour's drive away, and I really want to go there with Tom, but we've just been so careful through all of this that we haven't made our way there yet, but that's on my list. I think this is going to give me such good vibes. Then next is one Tom got me, which is Tender is the Flesh, by, how would we say that? Augustina Baterica. This is a dark book. Quite a lot of them are dark. I think I'm trying to avoid some of the darkness of 2020 with fictional darkness. And this is about a world in which a virus has affected animal meat, meaning that it's no longer safe for human consumption, and a trade in human meat trafficking has begun. And we follow the story of a man who's had a shipment in of a person that he begins to relate to. Yeah, so very dark, that one. Then next I have Hysteria by Jessica Gross, and I'm going to read you the quote on the back because I think it's probably the best convincer of why I'm interested in this. It says, if Atessa Moshfegh and Phoebe Waller-Bridge painted the town red together, this could be the fictive product of their evening out. Yeah, the woman is terrifying. She's worse the other way up. And it's about a girl or a woman who goes to a bar and thinks she recognises the bartender when he's serving her drinks, and she convinces herself that it's Sigmund Freud. Really excited for this one, just my brand of weird. Next I have one I am really intrigued for, and Heather Pruitt sent me this one. I don't think she intended it to be a Christmas present, but I wrapped it up because it was close enough to Christmas and it was exciting. So this is Sphinx by Anna Goretta. This is a novel that was originally in French, and this is the first translated novel from this author into English. and it's about a like genderless couple in Paris. And apparently it talks about like the relationships between these two, queerness, LGBT culture. It just sounds really interesting. I did open the package because I didn't know whether it was something that I bought or something, whatever. And I saw it, I was like, oh, I want to read it sooner, but I wrapped it and I was very good. But this is going to be definitely near the top of my list, partly because I'd not heard of it at all and it sounds so up my street. So yeah, desperate to get to this one. Thank you so much. Then a lot of the ones left are from my parents and my brothers, so I won't. They don't watch, so I'm not going to say which who came from what one. But I got this one, which is a Tessa Moshfegh, which is Death in Her Hands, and this is one I tried really hard to pre-order when I first knew it was coming out, and for some reason nothing would let me pre-order it. I couldn't get hold of it. I don't know whether it was like issues with. Oh, she's licking. She has a new bell, so she's now louder. I don't know whether it was issues with COVID and production or what, but I couldn't get hold of this book and was so excited to get it for Christmas. So it looks at a woman who goes to the woods and finds a mysterious note that implies there should be a dead body where the note is, but there's no dead body. And she starts to obsess about what could have happened, where the body is, who might have done a murder without there being any evidence one has taken place. I've really enjoyed everything Tessa Moshfegh has written so far, so really pleased to finally get hold of this one. Then next I have one from Acacia, which is They Were Her Property by Stephanie E. Jones-Rogers. And this one is one I think I was recommended when I talked about some of the reading I was doing around Black Lives Matter. And one of my subscribers said, oh, hardly anyone reads this one, but you might really like it. And it is a book talking about how white women acted as slave owners, and the impact of kind of gender and slavery. And I thought that sounded really, really intriguing. It's not a take I've read before, and it was on my Goodreads to read shelf for a really long time. So really thankful for Acacia for this one. And yeah, I've not got too much non-fiction in these piles, so I think this one will be gotten round to fairly soon, because I tend to try and do fiction, non-fiction, fiction, non-fiction at the same time. Then next I have one that was on lots of 2020 top of lists, but I haven't seen anyone else on BookTube talking about this, might have missed it. But that is Weather by Jenny Offill, which the reason I'm like so excited for this one is because I'm pretty sure that it's about a woman whose job it is to reply to the mail that a podcast about weather gets. And from the left, she gets lots of emails about climate change, and from the right, she gets lots of emails, people denying it or saying it's like a government conspiracy, and it's her job to go back to all of these people. I don't think I've ever read a book where there was a podcast in it, and I listen to a lot of podcasts, so that in itself is exciting. It's also a really little one, so yeah, I think this sounds like good fun. Then next I have some short stories, which is Reality and Other Stories by John Lancashire. I read The Wall by him as my first book of 2020, and I really liked his style. I think that was maybe his debut. I don't think I'd heard of him before anyhow. And this is like quite a Black Mirror type thing. They are short horror stories about modern tech, and I think that could be quite good fun. I am definitely gearing toward the dark in this kind of Christmas Christmas gift guides in terms of what I've asked for, and I'm definitely erring towards the dark side of things in these Christmas gifts. And yeah, I think this is going to be quite good, quite pacey based on The Wall. And I don't quite know when I might read this. I might save this for a little bit later in the year. Maybe I need like a fun little thing to perk me through. Then next is one I saw on Mercedes' channel, and I bought another book that I thought I was really going to like for like my kind of horror read in the autumn this year, and I picked it up and I didn't get on with it, which was sad. And this was my second choice. It's The Need by Helen Phillips, and I think hopefully this does what the other one didn't manage for me. This is about a woman who's, I think, either an archaeologist or a paleontologist, I can't remember, and she goes on a dig and finds a strange artifact which really, really, really creeps her out. And she goes home, and sort of the creepy vibe sinks into her home life, which is already quite pressured with working a busy job and I think caring for children too. So I'm really hoping I like this, and it gives me that good vibe of thrillery unease that I was hoping for from the other one I read. Then next is another book to add to my college relationship books, which I really like. I ought to do another recommendations video at some point soon. But this is We Wish You Luck by Karen Zanken. And this follows, I think it's 3 friends who are at university, and a 4th person comes in and messes up their relationship dynamic. I really like college novels. They're one of my favourite genres. So yeah, maybe I should make another video soon. Let me know down in the comments if you'd like another book set at universities or books with academics in them video. Next is another one I saw in lots of 2020 best of lists, which is Godshot by Chelsea Beaker, or Biker, or Barker. And this is about a small town, I think it's an agricultural town, which has been really badly affected by climate change. The local pastor is convinced that he can help, and that's the Godshot, to kind of bring the town back to the place it was at before climate change. Obviously everything goes wrong, and I think it is about a mother-daughter relationship above everything else. But yeah, as I say, it was on a few of the top of 2020 lists, and I've not heard anything about it. Then the next one I have is from Tom. Every year he goes onto BookTube for me, like the sweetheart he is, to find a book that lots of people are talking about that he thinks we're really up my street, but I won't have heard of / haven't asked for, which is a pretty tall order for him, but he does really well normally. And this year he picked up Verge by Lydia Unikavich, which is a collection of short stories. Obviously I haven't heard of them and I don't know anything about it, that's the aim. But it's a really pretty cover, and he normally does pretty well with this. I'm always very impressed. So yeah, looking forward to seeing what I think of Verge, and it's nice to have some short stories mixed in. I often split, as I just said, like fiction and non-fiction, but short stories are a good fast-paced way to break up that reading if I have lots of fiction in one go. So yeah, Verge. Then a little bit of non-fiction, which is Uncanny Valley by Anna Weiner. This is it's a memoir about a woman who goes to work in Silicon Valley and is just like, what the hell is this place? Like the culture, the weird scenarios and relationships that happen. It's just kind of like an expose on Silicon Valley, and I'm definitely here for that. I think this is going to be really good fun, and I saw this on quite a lot of the top non-fiction lists, and this one really appealed. Next is one I'm pretty sure everybody's read, which is Earthlings by Siaka Murata, and I don't want to know anything about it. So I know that the marketing team wanted people to record their reactions to reading it, and to me I'm like, that means I need to know as little about it as possible if the end is worthy of filming your reaction to. So I've purposefully stayed away from knowing anything about this so I don't lose out on that experience of reading it for the first time not knowing anything about it. So yeah, this is like a mystery. Please don't tell me anything about it in the comments. I just want to go in and see what I think. Next is probably my favourite cover of the entire year, which is Mayflies by Andrew O'Hagan. It's so pretty. I'm definitely going to have this one facing forward on my bookshelves if I have the space. We are running out of space for books a little bit in this house. But yeah, this is about a selection of 3 young boys. I think they may be college age, 17, 18, who are really good friends in their youth, and they kind of make a promise to themselves about the way they want to live their lives. And then we revisit them 30 years later to see how their lives have changed. I to be honest, cover buy a lot of it, but I've also seen good things, and it's been on a few of the best books of the year. And I do like that friend vibe. It's kind of similar to that academic vibe. So yeah, we'll see what I think of Mayflies. Just 2 more left now. So the first of them is Chevy Bane, which won the Man Booker. Probably everybody knows that. I missed out on all of my Booker reading this year. The only one I read was Real Life, because my exam fell in September, which is normally when I do a lot of the reading, and work, as I said, has just been really busy. So I didn't get a chance to do my usual binge of all Foz. Hello. I didn't get my chance to do my usual binge of all the Booker reads. And I thought, well, at least I can read the winner. It's a story about poverty and addiction is kind of what I've heard. But usually with the Bookers, my aim is to go in pretty blind, other than literally just what's on the back or in the inside flap. So I don't know much more about this one. But I'm glad I at least get to read one of them this year. And fingers crossed, I should finish on my study by September next year. And that's also when we're getting married. So I'm hoping on the honeymoon / the period after the wedding, because the honeymoon might be later with COVID, I can read my bookers. So this is my 2020 contribution to my booker reading. And the last one has been literally everywhere. I've seen this everywhere. The Vanishing Half by Britt Bennett. And I hadn't even thought about picking it up, if I'm honest. But it's been so everywhere. In fact, I haven't really bought that many books this year. I've bought sort of books and then read them as soon as I could after, but there's also been quite a lot of DNFs in 2020. And this one has just passed me by and I don't want it to. I've seen so many people, I think it was on Obama's list, and was on Mariah Carey's Christmas list that was on Twitter, but it's kind of everywhere. It's about two sisters, and I think they're both mixed race. One of them passes for white and the other doesn't pass for white, I think. I know at least that it is talking about race in this book and about stereotypes of race. So I don't know anything more than that at the moment, but I didn't want to miss out and now I don't have to. So those are all the books I got for Christmas in 2020. I'm really hoping 2021 is a better reading year and a better year all round for all of us. I've had probably one of the weirdest reading years I've had ever this year. Feasts and famines is probably how I describe it, with the feasts kind of frantically reading in between really busy times, and famines where my brain is scattered in a million different directions and I can't sit down and stay still for long enough to really engross myself in a book. So I'm hoping for more calm next year, and hoping for kind of movement forward and more hope next year. Yeah, so those are all the books I had. Hopefully this has been interesting to see what I've got. I'd love to know what your favourite book was that you got this year, if you got any, and if there's any of the books that are behind me right now that you hadn't heard of and are excited for, or were like your favourite book of the year. Those would be lovely. Positive vibes for the end of 2020. All right, lots of love to everybody, and I'll see you guys soon in my next video. Bye.